So welcome everyone, and today with respect to our journey with diet, we'll talk about sugar and salt. This is something fundamental, like every day, most of us will use it because unless you say no salt, no sugar, but generally every day we will have some salt intake, we will have sugar intake, and let's understand some basic fundamental because they impact systems heavily. Whether we talk about iodine, whether we talk about thyroid, whether we talk about simple blood pressure and all kinds of things, our gut, they impact the most out of all the things that we generally eat on daily basis. So let's talk about sugar first, and this one we will see with respect to what it means in terms of our understanding and in terms of what it should be. And once we understand that, then it will be easier for you to kind of see, okay, what do we need? So what does it mean? Should we just, drop sugar from our diet totally? No, right? We are not saying leave sugar totally, but certainly reduce. That is the key. Reduce as much as possible. And then we will talk about, okay, if we are reducing but still eating, then what type of sugar should we eat, right? You will eat, but what type? So not only then question is what, how, when, but how much and what time, right? That is also important. Uh, the lesser you eat sugar as sugar, better it is, because remember, and we'll talk about this, that sugar doesn't mean just the sugar that you are adding it in your food. So health is not about, that you stand on a scale and check your weight, check the waist, what size, right? And you go to gym and you are checking your bicep, tricep, whatever you are doing. So those are just a number. Okay. You have some intention, you have some aim, sure, go ahead. However, remember, health is separate and that physical appearance is totally separate. There is no connection between the two. So don't think I'm lean, I have muscle mass, I have all this thing means I'm healthy. May not be. So we have to take care of both sides. So that's what this whole theme is all about. Now, psychological health is one thing, right? So what is the relationship with the food? Because see, health is not just physical health. We are also talking about psychological, means we are talking about mental health, emotional health, all those elements. In fact, sometimes they are more important than your physical because of those things, you end up having physical issues in your life. So when we talk about sugar and different sugar, so source of the sugar comes into play. What does that mean? Like, is the sugar coming from sugarcane? Is it coming from beet, fruit? Is it coming from things like, stevia, which is a plant, but it's kind of a 0 calories, right? You're getting it from dates or whatever that may be. And sometime, you get some flavored thing in your vanilla flavor, this flavor, that flavor, all kinds of things. So one thing which is key in this is to understand how much processing it has gone through, how much refined it is. So if it is less processed, means it may have more mineral content. That means it may have some color in it because based on the ingredient, it will have its natural color. The more white it is, means the more processing it has gone through. And these minerals generally, which comes naturally, they will be antioxidants. They will help you in maintaining your health with respect to health of your each cell. Because once your cell start having some issues, right? They don't, when the cell divide, a new cell, if it is not healthy, that means you are having issues that you'll end up with some health issues. That is the starting point when the cell divide and it is not same as the original one. So sugar doesn't matter where it comes from, sugar is sugar. Whether you take honey, date, raw sugar. So of course, the healthier option is better than the white, means processed sugar. But you have to keep in mind the total sugar intake. So soft drink, for example, is a killing machine. You have a can of pop or bottle, whatever, it's loaded with sugar. If you're taking it with respect to teaspoons, so you can only imagine if 1 teaspoon is about 4.5 grams, and in a can of Coke, if you are getting 16, means 4 times. That means if your target is just have a 1 or 2 teaspoon in a day, and one can is giving you 16, you can imagine what kind of sugar intake you are having. So important thing here is, as I mentioned, sugar is not just the sugar that you are having it. All the food that you are eating also has sugar element in it, sugar content. So we think, oh, I'm having, 2 or 3 coffees in a day and I'm taking 2 teaspoons each. So I have 6 teaspoons, means so much grams or so much percentage, whichever way you take it. But remember, this sugar that you are taking as sugar, on an average, is only about 25%. That means 3 times of that you are getting it from the food that you are eating, especially the processed food. Bagel is a very common, product that bakery or people in at least North America is very popular. And if you look into bagel, one bagel, again, it's like Coke, can of Coke. It's like killing machine. Why? It is really loaded. You think I just had one bagel and you think, okay, it's a healthy thing. No, you look at the content, because all those things are converted into sugar. That's basically it. So you may be cutting down on the teaspoons of sugar that you are taking in your tea, coffee, or whatever, and you think, yes, I've cut down 90%. But remember, overall, that direct sugar is only 25% average. Of course, for some people, it could be higher or lower. So you see, it's so difficult to nowadays even understand what is the sugar content of any item that you are purchasing. Reason being, it's difficult to read and understand the label. The way they introduce the labeling, right? They try to kind of, we can say, trick the audiences, the customers. They will use certain alternative names that you may not aware of. Some are simple, you understand, you read the label and it will say sugar content so and so. But some terminology doesn't matter if it is calling it, the syrup, if it is, sucrose and fruit, or uh, there will be so many different names which may be natural or artificially made. That sometimes we just look at one line item and think, oh, okay, this is what it is. But you have to go through all of them because there may be multiple rows where this sugar content is prescribed. So does it mean, you spend so much time and just understand everything? Again, having sugar, you don't have to take it as a sin. It's part of your life. Enjoy your life. Only thing is in moderation. That's what you have to remember. If once in a while you are having a cake, it's not a bad thing. But the issue becomes when every week you are having a cake at home, and that also, big portion. So if you have cake, enjoy with family, friends, whatever. But the portion of cake is in your hand. You can have a small one or you can have a huge, which is as good as a meal. So when you're trying to understand, when you're reading the label, there may be different names for the sugar. They're all sugar. It may say raw sugar or sugar, right? It's easy to understand, but then it may have different name. And you may say, oh, wow, okay, it has fruit juice concentrate. So that's okay. No, it's not okay because in terms of sugar, it is alternate name. And once you add all those up, then you will see what really is the sugar content, because the real sugar content may be less, but then when you add those up, it becomes a lot. So there are sweeteners which are non-nutritive, right? People think like as a zero calories kind of thing because it's not adding any calories. Even, you know, whether, you go to a restaurant, they will have regular sugar and then again, one of these non-nutritive or zero calorie sugar, right? And people think I'm on diet, I should take this, but it really does more harm than good. It disturbs your whole system. There are a lot of research papers are published that how these sweeteners, most of them are artificial and even they're natural like stevia, they do more harm than good. It tricks our body and you end up eating more, hence you take more calories. That's how it disturbs the whole digestive system. So how the sugar and microbiome are connected. Your microbiome or gut, the flora, and there are multiple variety which has kind of each department. One type will do one particular thing, the other type may do other things. So there are good fungus, good bacteria, viruses, and all those things, combination microbes, what we call in our gut, which actually does the digestion, which actually does all of thinking even for us. Your immune system, everything is mainly governed by your gut. So what happens when you take these, sweeteners and you think you're saving on calories, it disturbs this whole balance. And then what happens is metabolic disorders comes into play. Now, these sugar or sweeteners, which are alternative for regular sugars, you take in a very small quantity and they give you a huge spike because they're very sweet. Now, having this spike gets you into dopamine, high dopamine levels. And it is addictive. Why? Because now the body wants more and more. Body wants more dopamine because body loves it. And you are getting dopamine by having these products. So that's why you love it. That's why multinational different companies, whether it's cookies, whether it's all kind of, bakery or other products on the shelf, they have sugar in it. Why? It becomes addictive. They sell more. So what happens is when you take these artificial sweeteners, the body is waiting for calories because message is sent that, okay, I've taken something sweet and I'll get calories. But calorie doesn't come. So body get confused. Body says, wait a minute, I got the signal I'm getting calories. I'm not getting it. So what just happened? So your body starts behaving in a different way. And then body says, wait, I need to eat more. I'm looking for calories. And you end up eating more and more. So you are trying to save calories, but actually you end up eating more. You can go for different kind of, research, different kind of uh, details of your gut microbiome. The more you understand, the better it will be. But gut microbiome is one thing which is dictating your life, good or bad, everything comes from there. Right when you have, first bite in your mouth, the process starts actually much before that. But nowadays, because we are eating with spoon and fork, we have cut down one step. And that step is if you eat by your hand, the touch, the sensation, the feeling, that is the first step in digestion. Body is so intelligent. Body knows if you're eating by your hand, not spoon and fork, because then the signal doesn't go. Body knows, okay, the food is coming, what is coming, the smell activates digestive process, the different acid and all kind of hormones, enzymes, they start processing. They know, okay, food is coming. And then when you put it in the mouth, now a more clear signal goes, okay, there is some carb, there is some protein, there is this. Saliva is doing the digestion, and that signal prepares your stomach that, okay, this is coming. Let's have this digestive enzyme to digest this. And that's why eating by hand is so, so important. In terms of hygiene and all, we think that no, we have to, use fork, knife, spoon, but actually we are cutting down on our health right there. Wash your hand before eating, but eat with your hand, especially at home. There's no reason not to. Don't get into this Western media and Western, culture that, oh, if you're eating by hand, they will look down at you. In fact, those who are eating should be looked down because they have no idea that they have chopped down first step of digestion. You need diversity of biome and you need a good, healthy gut. And then you need to follow the process. And then once you follow, you will not get sick. You will not go to the doctor. Means you are not taking medicines, allopathic. The more allopathic medicine you take, the more harm it does to your gut. And then we end up with different kind of issues, including autoimmune diseases. And if your digestion is not good, your health cannot be good. A small disturbance can create big issues. So the question is, what can we do? How can we rebalance? Sometime a whole community of, say, bacteria or particular fungus or virus, whatever you have as a gut biome, is being destroyed. Sometime by allopathic medicine, sometime by some other thing that you have. So you have to have variety of food. And as you have variety of food, you will have variety of your microbiome. And once you have that, then your health will come back. So we have to understand, which we will do in the subsequent sessions, that, okay, there are certain families of this microbiome that's supposed to be in your, different part of your digestive system. And if they travel up from large to small and, all those things, it disturbs the balance. So sometime having it and having it at the right place, both are very important. You lose a particular type, then you lose a particular function directly. Again, to stress on this, artificial sweetener, there was experiment done, and of course, in the lab they do it on mice, and what they did was they checked with artificial sweetener that what is the impact, how does it change the microbiome, and for this, the impact of artificial sweetener. So they said, okay, saw the impact on a thin mouse. They gave artificial sweetener, the mice, it became fat, diabetic. Just by introducing the artificial sweetener, it changed the microbiome. Then they said, okay, what do we do? How do we, check that what's happening, not happening? But what they did was they injected, they kind of what you can say is transplant. They took fecal from the one of the mice, and this one became obese, and transplanted into a thin mice. Didn't give any artificial sweetener, but just by transplanting, because once you take the fecal and transplant it, what's happening is you are transplanting the microbiome from one to the other. And this other mice also became obese. That means from your microbiome itself, you became. That means the artificial sweetener impacted the microbiome. That microbiome, when transplanted into a normal mice without any artificial sweetener, it did the same thing because it has come from the artificial sweetener. That impact got transmitted to the other mice, became obese and diabetic again. So scientifically, yes, it's been kind of many papers and theses and other things have been there in the market, but it's a huge market. Artificial sweetener itself is a big market. The sugar, entire processing industry, the processed food is based on this. So you can imagine how much of information you will get on both sides. So food manufacturer, they will certainly try to safeguard or justify their business. But 72%, they've added sugar. Sugar is addictive. So obviously, everything has sugar nowadays, hidden in different names. And even if it is natural like stevia, don't be careful. Because yes, it is better than artificial, for sure. However, you have to be careful because this is still 0 calories and you'll end up more eating and then having the downside of it because it disturbs your body. So sugar, which is really causing, a big havoc in your processing, in your entire digestive system. Why? Because sugar impacts, your energy level, it impacts your thinking, it impacts your whole lifestyle. And once you are addicted, it is very difficult to get away. You have to be determined, you have to be aware, and then yes, you go for it. So let's look into salt. Salt also you take daily. There are different types, table salt, sea, kosher, black salt, Himalayan salt, all kind of different. Sea salt may also has multiple variety, and you will see that, okay, what do we do? So human blood has a pH range 7.35 to 7.45. It is slightly alkaline. A slight change in this range could be fatal. It is so important. So your blood, kidneys, lungs, they're all working together in order to maintain this 7.4 range. So yes, Ayurveda do recommend alkaline diet. Why? Because if you are having an acidic food, say you eat something which is acidic 3, 3.5, and the body has to move it to 4 points from 3.5 to 7.5 range. So imagine how much work has to be done. If you have too alkaline, right? Because alkaline range goes up to 14. So if you eat something very alkaline, like 13 range or 12, now you have to bring it down to 7.4. So in both cases, what is happening? You are adding work. So we have to be very careful. Yes, we eat, we are trying to satisfy our tongue, the taste, but might be mindful. If there is something which is very acidic or very alkaline, at least you can control the proportion of the portion that you are eating. So between the entire meal, what is the percentage of such thing? And then whatever that is, can I reduce the portion or not? So what happens is, as this pH gets impacted, your health got it. Straight away, it will be impacted. From a simple cold, seasonal flu and all those things to all the way to any tumor or your, autoimmune diseases, it can have impact on, many different ways on your body, and it will have on your different organs. Now, one thing which we know we cannot live without is water. Normal water should be give and take around 7 which is neutral. If you really go and see in most of the houses, especially in India, we have RO system because we are not sure what kind of water we are getting in the tap from the city. So we think RO will help us. Most of the ROs will be acidic. Get it checked, please. Unless you add one other module, which, because it is extra, people don't think, people think, okay, I'm spending more, but that makes it slightly alkaline. Don't drink too alkaline or too acidic because again, it impacts the whole body function because now the body has to convert it. Just like sugar, your salt intake also, mainly it is coming from processed food, not from the sugar. Just like sugar, you are adding directly, same as salt. What you are adding directly in your food is a small portion. And salt, we think, okay, salt is helping us in iodine intake because iodine is mixed in the salt and that we need. So that is something, you have to be mindful of having iodized salt. There are different concepts or, kind of opinion about whether we need iodine or not and all those things. However, salt is still a common source of iodine intake. Now, if you are having curd, milk, cheese, and certain, food items, yes, you can have level of iodines coming from there. But let's come down to the main sources of our sugar. So one is your table salt, which is refined. This one, the pH is about 7, but remember, it is refined. So salt is produced from the salt deposits, right? And it is highly processed. This table salt is highly processed. It has taken away all the natural ingredients. It looks white because it is heavily processed. To keep it dry, different additives, chemicals are added, including even aluminum. Anti-caking agents are added. Why? So that even if a little bit moisture, it can stay dry. Because if it gets chunky, you will not buy that brand. If it is free flowing, you will love it. But how is it maintaining that property of free flowing? Some chemicals are added. Salts, when they are processed, because they are refined, at such a heat, high temperature, that structure is altered. Potassium iodide is added. And again, just like sugar, it is addictive. And that is why it is sometimes very difficult to reduce your intake. So what kind of ingredient? Just have a look, at the label of this refined salt that you're having. Some most common one are calcium silicate or magnesium carbonate. These are anti-caking agent. Yeah, it's free flowing. You love it. Read the label. Potassium iodide, this is what makes, iodized stable iodine. Sodium thiosulfate is added in small quantities, again, oxidation of the iodine. So that's why to avoid that, they are adding this. Dextrose, this is sugar. And I was surprised to see they are adding sugar in salt. Of course, not in every brand, but this particular brand has dextrose in it. And I couldn't understand why would anyone add a company sugar and salt. So you see, of course, people will get addicted. Fortunately, not every brand has this, but be careful of the brand that you have. If there's any dextrose, means it has sugar in it. So all these chemicals, you are getting it along with your processed or refined salt. Sea salt, this is usually not as much processed. It goes through processing, but less than your refined one. And they are also free flowing. So calcium silicate or magnesium carbonate, whatever that agent is there. And because of ocean pollution, sea salt may contain impurities. Biggest one is microplastic. Microplastic is because of the waste. You may have seen already a lot of, photos or articles that how, from the waste area or directly into the sea, all this plastic which is not decomposable. So it doesn't get broken down. And then these microplastic particles are kind of, they have gone through in this water. And when you take the sea salt, then not only microplastic, but sometimes you have trace of heavy metals like lead. So this is the risk with sea salt. When we are talking about kosher, like this, usually not iodized. So and there are some people who want this only. So, because of the, again, religious or other beliefs. And again, you have to just look at it. Uh, Micronutrients, you may be not having it. Iodine, you may not be having it. So this one is, you have to see if you have to have, then make sure that things that is missing, you are having it from other sources. Now, Kala Namak, or you have this Senda Namak also, it's called Himalayan black salt is called. This is a rock salt, but generally you will see a kind of a pungent smell, right? Kind of sulfurous, you will see a pinkish gray color when crushed. So what happens is it is also processed. You'll take the Himalayan salt, then you will have some charcoal, herbs, seed, bark, and so there is some processing. However, nowadays you even get synthetically made black salt. Now that's problem because it's no more natural. Because in Ayurveda, you will hear a lot of use of Kala Namak, right? And it will be used in some chutneys or raitas or chaat. It's healthier than sea salt, but again, we don't know which one is synthetically made. And this is also to be used specifically as a herb. Sometimes it is used as a laxative, right? As a digestive aid. People use it in the fasting, right? It helps reduce certain things like excessive acid and all those things. But you have to be also uh, be careful about the quantity of this, what you eat, right? So this is okay as little bit, but Himalayan salt, this is something, or Senda Namak, so not the black one, but this is the Himalayan salt. These are crystalline, directly coming from the Himalayas, means the salt deposits. Now, this has been, deposits over a million of years, so it's just been taken from the source, purest form, and this is kind of unprocessed and raw, free from any pollutant, chemical compositions. Then what you will see is it has micronutrients like potassium, copper, calcium. Of course, not in a very big quantity, but at least it has some, right? Usually, it is not, but you get both variety, iodized and non-iodized. So you have to be careful when you pick, is it iodized or not? If you're looking for that supplement, then pick accordingly. It has great cooking effect. It balances the three dosha, your vata, pitta, and kapha balancing. It really helps in that. You have a BP or water retention kind of thing, then you should be careful when you have this. Now, white and the pink variety, yes, you can look into that for your day-to-day cooking. And it is something that, you can really use in order to improve your health. It has a lot of health benefits. Why? Because you can see it helps in stress, skin issues, weight loss, digestive stimulant, immune system, metabolism, you name it, and you kind of see the benefit, whether it's about your pH, the three dosha, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, because every issue in your body, physical issue, what comes from inflammation. So if it is helping all this, then you can do. Now, one I found which has straight away just the salt and the iodine. Iodine because it is supplement. No caking agent, no, free flowing and those kind of things. But usually you will have multiple. So read the ingredient. The one that I use here, this one I love because it has only two things, salt and iodine, no other chemical. So in your area, you can find what you like, different again, and you can see what it involves. In India also, I found one example of this where you can get just the salt and iodine, but otherwise you have a lot of chemicals in it. So masters, this is something that, we all need to be aware of, because what happens, this is something that you have to use every day. We cannot avoid. Only thing is we can be more wiser. Okay, now we'll take your questions or your sharing.